All right. Well, welcome to Make Your Own Fun. I'm here with Shylah Ada and also known as Shy But Fly. So I gotta say, for a lot of people that are just kind of meeting you for the first time when they watch this later, where does the nickname come from or your stage name?
Um, Long story short, I've always been like super shy, but I started performing and people are like, "You barely talk. How are you this way on stage?" So then like people around will be like, "Oh, it's Shy But Fly because she's fly on stage." So it kind of just stuck and I went with it and I branded it.
I was gonna say because when I saw you doing like open mics around Long Beach, like you were not shy. Like you knew how to like work the room with like business cards and flyers about like your own reading and like stuff you knew that was going on. And then on stage, everybody was like mesmerized. So I'm like, there's got to be a backstory to this name because I'm like, really, her shy? Okay, maybe it's ironic. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I used to be way shyer. I feel like just being an artist and doing it all the time, you kind of have to like force yourself out of that.
That's true. That is very true. So I know you do poetry. So to me, the revelation, kind of like looking into some of your stuff, was the music. So have you always been a singer, or was that something in the last few years you kind of just worked on?
Well, I've always been a singer. I actually started out singing. I did poetry way before I even I sang way before I started doing poetry. But I didn't really share it until later. I sang in the choir, but I kind of just like blended in. But I started singing solo. I don't even know what year, but years ago. And like it kind of just like took off. And then I felt like I had to choose between like poetry and music, and I was like, no, I don't have to choose. So that's what I've been doing. I've just been doing both of them ever since.
That's so great. I can kind of see how maybe when you were so comfortable on stage doing poetry, because that's basically just you and a mic and a spotlight and maybe a piece of paper. Like you can't get any more bare than that and still let people into a show. uh, but yeah, I could see. And then working it. So do you primarily work with a band?
Yes, I have a full band. The name of my band is She Wears Black.
Oh,
We
cool.
we play a lot around Long Beach. We've done like multiple blues festivals, the Uptown Jazz Festival. We play at bars and restaurants at least like once a week, every
That's
week.
a lot. That's a lot. Do you guys have any recordings or anything up online?
We have a YouTube page and we have an Instagram _ She Wears Black. We started recording right before everything got crazy, so we have 5 songs in. We're gonna finish our album soon, hopefully.
Yeah. I'm all
Yeah.
about like people using that time of what I've been telling people on this show is like during the lockdown and the pandemic, you're kind of only faced with yourself. So
Mm.
it's up to you about how you're going to use that time, if you're just going to sit around in pajamas and eat ice cream and watch Netflix, or when you get past that like pity phase where you're like, I gotta do something. I'm going stir crazy. So that's good. That's good. So take me back to when you were a kid, and what would you say? I don't know. Get into a time machine. You don't have to. And say like, was it maybe somebody? Because I'm kind of figuring it happened at the same time that you might have heard some singers or some groups that had really great lyrics, and that kind of maybe led into poetry, or maybe somebody gifted you a book, or you saw somebody and you said, I want to do that.
Ah, when did I get into poetry? I feel like growing up, English was always my favorite subject. So I always loved to read and I would always go to the library and just grab different books. And then I think one day I just grabbed a poetry book and I got into it and I was like, oh, this is cool. I like this. And then later on I found out about spoken word and I was like, wow, this is poetry, but it's like a performance, and it kind of just blew my mind. I was like, I want to do that. So that's how, I just like went for it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Were there any particular writers or musicians that when you were younger that kind of inspired you to kind of get into doing your own thing?
Um, when I was younger, I think I just did the typical, like Langston Hughes, Nikki Giovanni, just like print poets. And then once I got older and I got more into the live, performance poets. It's so many to name, but Talam Acey is one of my favorites. He's amazing. He was like one of the first spoken word poets that I heard.
That's awesome. I mean, did anybody ever gift you or let you borrow a book that, like, once they saw that you were going down that path and they were like, okay, for like a birthday or Christmas or something, somebody gave you a book and they're like, okay, well, we see, you're in middle school or whatever and you're into this, but maybe try this. Like somebody introduced you maybe to something that you didn't even know existed before that?
No, I wish. I wish back then. I was kind of like to myself and I just like in my own little world, but later on I got into like the beat poets and like some friends would show me like, oh, you're into Kerouac, here's Ginsberg and all the things. And then yeah, once I
I
was
mean, I
older.
just remember like as far as music with great lyrics goes, I remember, kind of laughing at my parents because of like singer-songwriter stuff. And I was like, meh, but there's always like that group of people that are older than you that
Yeah.
they have those other influences. They've been to like high school and you're like in middle school. And I remember one of my friends' brothers was like that's nice that you like that little kid music, but come over here and like I'm gonna introduce you to stuff. And I remember like the first time I heard like Africa Bambaataa, I was like,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I remember like just my eyes were like this, and I was like, this is possible. Like you can do this. And they're like, yeah, yeah, you can do this with music. You can say something. You don't just have to make, I mean, it's still danceable, but you
Mhm.
can say something. And then I went back and I learned about like Bob Dylan and like Curtis Mayfield and Stevie Wonder and Bruce Springsteen and these people that and Joni Mitchell too, that just they wrote these songs, but they were really like saying something. And
Yeah.
like sometimes they talk about an issue or just like a dirtbag shit relationship that they went through, that they were like, well, congratulations, motherfucker. I'm gonna immortalize you. I'm not gonna say your name, but you're gonna know who
Yeah.
you are. You're
Of
gonna know who you
course.
are. And that person's like, damn it.
Yeah.
And that stuff continues to this day. But um, so who, or was it maybe a teacher or like I said, maybe somebody older that kind of introduced you to open mics, like, in your neighborhood or even going somewhere else when you were younger?
Yeah, well, when I was in high school, I uh went to the Boys and Girls Club and they were doing an open mic and that's when I kind of got into it. I was super shy at first. I just started going and listening and stuff like that, but then finally I just like I went and I think I read a poem or sang a song or something. And I was just inspired by everybody that was there and everybody that was performing, and then all the people that worked there that also performed. And like it wasn't just like us, they showed us and they helped us grow along the way.
Yeah. And then what's great is I think if you go for a while before you actually get up, it's good to kind of and it's good if you go with like a group of friends or you make friends because they will tell you like the do's and don'ts. They'll tell
Yeah.
you like do not ever go over your time. Don't be that
Yes.
person that like gets the flashlight in the face or however they're going to signal you to stop talking. And you don't
Yeah.
want to be that person that reads like tries to read a 7-minute poem about a daffodil or about their cat playing with a little ball of yarn, or this like the stereotypical stuff where it's just like, okay, grandma, let's get past this, and I mean, God bless those people that do that stuff, but it's like, man, we don't want to shine the flashlight in your face. Like, let's, wrap it up. And I'm sure you've been to enough readings and been a feature. I always ask people this: have you been heckled before?
Um,
Even in like a nice way, I guess I could say.
I I've never been heckled.
Never?
Not let me knock on wood. Like I've never been heckled. But I feel like I'm very personable too. So I talk to the audience and stuff in between, and we have our little banter and our little jokes and stuff. But yeah, I've never had somebody interrupt me or do something while I'm in the middle of the
I've
performance.
had the opposite happen too, because I kind of come from a comedy background. So
Yeah.
there's times where I'll do like some funny stuff, but it's like you never know, like if you've never been to a town before and you've never been on their stage, and sometimes you got to compete with the coffee grinder.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Sometimes you got to compete with just loud like college kids coming in and being like blah, 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 when you're right in the middle of something. But the worst is when you're trying out something new and you think it's like funny and you got everything paced right and timed right and you're gonna hit certain lines, and you just see a bunch of people just like this with their arms folded like, and there's that one guy in the back that's just like and you're
I
like,
see that hosting open mics. I host a bunch of open mics, like especially at bars. For comedians, I think it's sometimes harder, yeah. And then it's just, especially if nobody's laughing, they're mostly just listening. I could see
and
how
trust me,
that's,
you feel it
yeah,
as when you're on
yeah,
stage and you're like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go do the one about my dog dying or something. Where's that? Because you
yeah.
gotta pivot, you gotta shift gears. So, um, let me ask you this: have you performed either poetry or music outside of Long Beach? Like you've gone to other cities and other venues, right?
Yeah, I've done a lot. I've done some in OC, I've done some in LA, Hollywood, poetry and the music. I've been all over like different states and stuff performing music.
I feel like your poetry would go over like really well in San Francisco. I'm kind of telling everybody that because I had such a good experience like years ago because they have like five or six. I mean, it's a big city. They have like five or six different things, and they'll do like poetry, they'll do comedy, they'll do music. So you can kind of do a little bit of everything, and they're really like open and understanding. And then there's other places I've been where I'm like, nope, not going back there.
You know what? I have done poetry. I did the open mic at the Nuyorican in New York. I did that one time. I don't know how I forgot
Nice.
about that.
How was that experience?
It was so cool. I felt really good because usually we go to the same places and sometimes we see the same people. Even if it's in a new venue, you're gonna know people around the city. So being in a whole other state, I felt like I had something to prove again. Like nobody knew me as like shy but fly. I was just like a woman stepping up to read some poetry.
And that's
Um,
good. Like we need
yeah.
that because you need that clean slate
Mhm.
of just bored faces, then go up and just kill it.
And then I won him over. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, that was good. They liked my poetry. They didn't even like me for me. So it was really good.
I mean, that's a great thing, especially in New York. So major props for that. I remember I did when I was living in Georgia, I did an open mic in Athens, which is where Georgia State is. A lot of famous singers and bands have come out of there. I don't know about writers so much, but I remember going to the open mic and there were just like people like half asleep
Yeah.
and like leaning on walls and kind of like drinking. And I remember getting up and reading like this really like open-hearted thing that happened to me in my childhood, and people were like, but then they did the next thing. They did that to the next like three people. So I'm like, okay, I don't feel so bad. They're just bored. It's like 90 degrees and it's like 8:30 at night and they're just over it. So like every place is different. But so have you ever mixed the two of your poetry and music? Have you ever had anybody kind of playing behind you just like with a piano or a guitar or anything like that while you read?
Yeah, I actually love doing that. I kind of like prefer doing that. And then I add like music and I'll sing before or after my poems, or I'll add like a hook to my poems. But I've had like upright bass, drums, and I performed with like a live band before as well. Kind of, I was inspired by Jack Kerouac and the whole like adding jazz to the poetry.
It just adds that kind of like other level to it, and it's like people are just naturally keen to like listen to music anyway when it's live, so their eyes are going to be on you anyway, so that's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So has there been anything that you haven't tried with either poetry or music, or is there some other art form that you want to get into you haven't like messed around with yet?
I have a full plate right now. Um, yeah, but I just like doing new things, trying new things. Especially with music. I sing blues mostly, but I've been getting into more like funk and soul and learning new songs and learning about artists I never heard of before, like we were talking about earlier. And as far as poetry, trying new things, I'm always trying to like try different different forms and structures and just become a better writer, in
Right.
general.
That's the best thing. I always love it when somebody introduces me to something that I've never heard of before. Or my favorite thing is like a band or a singer, not so much writers, but with music, somebody I kind of was like, meh, I kind of like wrote them off, and then I don't
Mhm.
hear from them for like 5 or 6 years, and then they drop something that's just like, what is this? Like
Yeah.
a good example, like I kind of knew who the Arctic Monkeys were. I was like, all right, they're like a garage rock band from England. That's cool, whatever. And then a couple years ago, they put out the album that was like setting up a hotel on the moon,
Mhm.
and it was a like totally different style, and like each song was like part of a story. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh, okay. They stepped up their game. And then I read an article where they said like the main guy, I think his name is Alex Turner, that
Alex, yeah.
writes most of the songs. They're like, well, he got a piano, and I'm like, he was just like, oh, if I write on a different instrument, it's gonna sound like this, a little swinging lounge music.
I
Has
love
there
Arctic Monkeys, by the way. I love that band.
but has there been like a band like that or a singer or somebody like that that you kind of wrote off that you were like, meh, and then a few years go by and then they put something out and then you're like, holy shit.
Um, Trying to think. Um, I don't know. I feel like I'll listen to something even if I don't necessarily like it. Just the artist in me won't let me not listen to something new, and experience something new. But I don't think I can't name anybody that kind of grew on me.
Another one that kind of grew on me was Florence and the Machine.
Oh, I've seen them live before. I don't see, I guess, see, I don't listen to the music, but um, I went to see Kamasi Washington and they were the band that was with them. So I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. I wouldn't necessarily listen to this, but this is cool.
It was one of those, not quite like Arctic Monkeys, but it was kind of like I had heard her stuff before, and I was like, okay. And then more recently, I was like, oh, okay, it's a little bit different, going down a different path, which is cool because I kind of feel like any artist, you can't just regurgitate and do like the same thing. I know people do that, but there are some
Yeah.
singers and bands that just they get off on that and then they make a whole career of it, but I mean, I'm not gonna slag anybody, but let's just say if you've heard one AC/DC song, you've probably heard them all. It's just that mid-tempo hard rock,
Mhm.
you know. Um, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their something. Um, so what do you think got you into music? Like, did you initially like learn an instrument when you were younger, before you started singing, or after?
No, I didn't learn an instrument when I was little. I joined band for like a week and then I quit because I wanted to be in choir. So then I went to choir and I loved it and I started, you know, honing my skills as a singer. But I took piano. I know how to play I don't like to play in public, but I know how to like get around. Mostly I just use it when I'm writing my songs and stuff like
That
that.
was going to be my next question is if
Yeah.
you write your own songs, do you mainly use a piano or a guitar? So
Piano, yeah. I have a guitar too, but I can never really get past the part where your fingers get used to it.
I always tell people like I used to have an electric and I live in an apartment. There's just no way you can have an amp in an apartment. It's just forget it. That there's just no good time with neighbors. So I have an
Yeah.
acoustic. And for me, it's more like just like relaxing and like strumming chords. I'm not like some kind of crazy like Eddie Van Halen playing it upside down, hanging from a bungee cord kind of shit. I don't know, setting it on fire or whatever. But I was telling a friend the other day, I'm like, because she was really frustrated. She's like, oh, fuck this thing, and I want to break it, and blah blah blah, and I can't learn anything. And I was like, can you play a G chord? She was like, yeah. Can you play an A chord? She was like, yeah. Well, if you can play G and A, then you can play Jane Says by Jane's Addiction. It's only 2 chords. She was like, whatever. And 5 minutes later, she called me back and she was like, fuck you. Well, am I right? And she was, yeah, you're right. Fuck you. And hung up the again. Because it's one of those things that's like, I think any instrument, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I feel like if you can just find that thing that you're not playing like Mary Had a Little Lamb, or you don't feel like you're a beginner and you don't feel lame, that it's like you get to know something that you've heard that's cool that you can do, that you can show somebody, then suddenly you're a musician. Because until that point, you're just like, a shy little kid. You're like, I don't wanna show anybody. You're like,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
do you remember like the first big like breakthrough you had, like a song you learned where you were like, yes?
Um, just singing or
Or either way, one, yeah, singing or piano.
yeah, because with the piano, I don't really play like songs, other people's songs and stuff like that. I just use it mostly as a tool. But um, in class, I had to do what did I do? I did a Bonnie Raitt song. I can't
I Can't
make
Make
you
You Love
love
Me.
me. Yeah, that song. I was like, oh my gosh, once I got it down, it was like it felt so easy. I was like, I want to learn more songs and do this all the time. And then I was like, no, I didn't.
I remember my guitar teacher a long time ago was like, you'll find that many of the same songs use the same chord progressions and this and that. And then when I realized, and then I was so happy at first when I learned that. And then the older I got, I was kind of bummed because it's like it kind of took the magic out of it a little bit. Because sometimes you just hear a song on the radio or you're out somewhere and you're like, yeah. And you don't really think about the music or the chords. And I remember he was telling me it was like C, G, A minor, F is like the most used chord progression. And I was like, no. And he goes, oh, yeah. And I'm like, no. So then he showed me Let It Be by the Beatles. And then he showed me No Woman, No Cry by Bob Marley. And he's like, it's just a different strumming pattern. I'm like, what? And then there's a song called So Lonely by the Police, which is just a faster version of that. And I'm like, that sucks. That's it's like, no, no, no. It's not that it sucks or that it's lame. It's just there's only so many combinations or sequences for chords. So at a certain
Yeah.
point, you're just going to stumble across something similar and you're going to be like, hey, this is great. And they're like, well, there's a reason why it's great.
Definitely a reason. And people do that too. Musicians do that as well because they know that your brain, even if you can't really, register it, your brain is familiar with the patterns and the sound. Like, oh, I automatically like this song because it sounds like this other song that I like.
Oh yeah, yeah, and singers and bands get in trouble all the time.
Yeah.
It's too close. I mean, there was
Yeah.
one a couple years ago where there was a Bruno Mars song where they said it sounded like the Police, but they said no, it's not the same chords. It's just it had that kind of like upbeat kind of ska sound to it, like early '80s kind of ska sound to it. So in a way, it's like I got to commend the guy because people talking about it, it's just gonna get more
Yeah.
downloads and good for him.
Yeah.
So, um, Has there been any style of music? You said primarily blues. Has there been anything that you haven't tackled yet with that that you want to try? Or are there like people that you see that you're kind of like chasing, not physically chasing, but you're like, okay, I want to work more toward that, maybe?
Well, like the funk and the soul more. I'm starting to do more of that with different bands. Yeah, because at first I got hired to play this gig and it was a funk gig, and I was like, I don't know any funk stuff. Like
You're
I'm a
like, how
blues.
much time do we have to learn like four funk songs?
Yeah, I'm a blues singer, but then it kind of stepped me out of my box in a good way, and I kind of just went with it. I like funk. I've always liked listening to it, but
Well,
just as
yeah.
far as singing and performing it and knowing of artists, I didn't really know. So I had to do my homework and I had to get it down, and now I like it. I want to do more, and
I
I'm
was gonna
doing
say, like, come on, you've heard James Brown,
of course, yes.
you've heard Stevie Wonder. I'm always kind of happy when people can kind of mix genres, or there's like a certain part of the song where it shifts into something else and then back. And I'm sure you have too, where you've seen bands live that do like a medley, and that's always impressive because to me, like funk is such a tight groove
Yeah.
that it's like not to put anything on the rhythm section, but if your bass player flubs, oh man, it's so hard to get back to the one if somebody misses a couple of notes in the bass line because it's like, where are you, man?
My bass player is amazing. Her name is Maria Vega. She's amazing.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. So how did the band come together?
I'm so I was in another band that I made, well, a group of us, and then it kind of we broke up. So I kind of was like, I need another band, and I was just going to jam sessions, and then you kind of go to jam sessions and you play with people, and you kind of see who you mesh well with and who you just flow and vibe with, you know? And I kind of just was like, hey, I'm starting another band, and then they're like, okay, I know a guy, okay, I know somebody else, okay, I know this person, and then we just all got together. Then it's been like 3 years, almost 4 years later, and we're still a band, and it kind of just happened.
That's the best way if it happens organically. So let me ask you this. Have you ever done any studio session work, like for hire for other people, like just to come in and help out on a track or something?
Oh yeah, I do that. I do that all the time.
Nice. What got you into that? You just like know a guy who knows a guy kind of thing, or
Money, just kidding.
no? I
But
mean, like, how did you find out about it? Like,
just
did
kidding.
somebody had to say like, "Hey, Shylah, like, check this out," or like, "I know a guy who's gonna be putting a song together like in 3 nights. Are you free or to come down or whatever?"
I kind of well, I've always kind of done session and vocal work ever since I started singing. I would and writing too as well. People would be like, "Hey, I heard your stuff before. I'm looking for somebody to come sing these hooks or something like that. Or I'm writing an album and I can't sing, so I need to hire people to come in and sing. So basically, I've always been doing it, and I like it because I like singing on people's stuff. It's not normally stuff I would do, and it just
Well,
gets me
anything to
out
keep
there.
you out of your comfort zone to kind
Yeah,
of like show you that there's like a different way to do it. Because people
yeah,
who work in the studio all the time, they've heard it all, they've seen it all, they've been there, they've done that, and they can tell you like what works, what doesn't work, like how close to stand to the microphone, little tricks. So they know all the stuff. So
yeah.
um, hopefully I mean, it's not my business, but hopefully you're getting paid when you're doing that stuff, or at least it's like a favor for a friend where like you perform on their track and then they'll come do your track, right? Like tell me you're at least getting something out of it.
No, I'm a professional like artist singer, so I don't do anything for free.
Right on, right on. I don't know if you ever heard this story, and I think it's a great story. So I'm sure you're familiar with Tina Turner.
Yeah.
And what I'm just gonna say this politely, what a piece of crap that her ex-husband was.
Hmm.
Ike Turner, right? You know that story, right?
Yeah, I do.
So she found out that I'm sure you know this name too. Frank Zappa was recording an album, and he wanted some singers to perform on his album that he was working on in the '70s. And Ike didn't want her to get paid because he was a jackass, as you know. No love lost there. And he said, "Well, if you pay my girls, you're gonna pay them like the flat rate of $15 for the whole session." And they did like a whole week's worth of recording, right?
That's weird.
So that's what he said to Frank, and of course, because I watched a documentary, and I guess Frank was just like, "Oh, you think that's fair? Oh, okay, I see. All right." And then they did the sessions and everything, and I guess he had a conversation with Tina privately, like, "Don't worry, I'm going to take care of you." And then because this guy's a fucking asshole, and then it got back around. Then the what do you call it? The invoice came, and he got his copy, and he's like, "There's a glitch," and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Ike, it's already been through, and we've already processed the payment, and Tina and the girls have already been paid, and they went on their way to whatever." So he just moved the decimal point. So instead of, and because back then they actually literally had to type.
Mm.
So if like it was done and they made their carbon copy, like an old credit card machine, that's how they got paid. And I couldn't do shit. And he was burning up about it because instead of getting $15 a day, he paid each one of them $150 a day. And I was like, I mean, I was already cool with Frank Zappa anyway, but I just thought that's a really cool story because, man, I just don't have time in my life for respect for people. Just, it's like, come on, man. Like, let's face it, when it comes to Ike and Tina, like, she was the breadwinner.
Yeah.
She was the talent. And it's just like, man, I'm so glad she got away from him. But it's a great story, though.
Yeah, I never heard that before. That's crazy.
But it's so great. That's why it's even to this day, even friends that are just kind of dipping their toe into like, the studio work and session stuff. I'm like, make sure you get it in writing ahead of time. Make sure you get paid. Make sure nothing like crazy scandalous goes down and you just
Yeah.
cover yourself.
Yeah, people always calling me and asking me for advice and like about all that stuff just starting out, and I always tell them the same thing because I went to school, like I went to school after I was already done for music business. I was like, let me go get a certificate in like music business and commercial music, because I really wanted to know the inner workings and how to handle that stuff, and like you said, getting everything in writing and having contracts and work for hire and all that stuff that people don't really think about when they think about the arts. But I feel like as an artist you should know about that.
Oh yeah, I mean, even me like doing like film work and short films and commercials and all that, I always tell people, just make sure there's, even if it's basic, even if it's something that they just ran copies of and you have to sign your name to it, like read what you're signing. You don't want to be one of those people like from back in the day that signed away half their rights to their publishing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just, take care of yourself. So, what did you get done during the lockdown? You said you got quite a bit done. I'm kind of curious about that because you said you have some tracks, but I mean, other than that, was there a lot of stuff you got through last year or the year before?
I finished my second book, my second poetry book. But now I'm just kind of like letting it breathe. Um, I was just thinking about it earlier. I was like, okay, so I want to put it out this year, but I don't know when I want to put it out. And I did a lot of Netflix and pajamas as well. And
Got caught up on
I
those shows.
yeah, and I was actually performing a lot virtually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I got asked to do a couple events for the city and music, and just word of mouth. People were like, "Oh, you're performing at home? Okay, here, we want to hire you. We want you to do this." And I got to put together it was called Keep wait, what was it called? Something for the Long Beach Arts Council. I was able to hire other artists, because it was like hard times. I was able to hire about like 6 other artists and do a virtual event on Instagram. And that was really like the highlight of everything. It kind of gave my spirits a little boost. So I was doing stuff like that.
Nice, nice. Now, did you collaborate with anybody during that time?
Um, Not really. Just the artists and throwing different events. And I was hosting a virtual open mic as
Oh,
well
okay.
too. Yeah, I was doing stuff like that. But yeah, it was basically just everybody trying to maintain and keep creative. And I feel like the open mics really helps people because I know it was virtual, but people would always say, "Thank you for doing this. Like,
Oh,
we need
yeah.
something like this." Yeah.
People need to reach out. One of the nice things that people have told me is they're so happy with this format where we can
Mhm.
just kind of like shoot the breeze for like an
Yeah.
hour. Because if you go on like one of those little like talk shows or whatever, they give you like 6 minutes. And then at the
Mhm.
end, you might forget to even plug the thing that you came on to do. And you're like, well, and then it's like,
Mhm.
okay, coming up next.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so tell me a little bit about, I mean, are you currently hosting like a live open mic, or is that something that you kind of put off and you're waiting for things to kind of open up a little bit more?
No, I'm actually hosting a live open mic at Roxanne's every Monday. It's in Long Beach from 7 to 9 p.m.
Nice. Okay. And how long have you been doing that one for?
I want to say 2019, 2018.
Okay, so
I've been
almost
doing I've been doing it for a
years.
while.
Yeah.
Except for like the year 2020, of course, we didn't do it. But
Right.
yeah, I've been doing it for a while and I feel like it's just starting to pick up again because people are like, "Oh, it's back. I didn't know it was back." So, it's been
Yeah, and
pretty
it's tough. Like you really gotta like over advertise and like
yeah.
bring it up in almost every conversation because people have this thing in their mind that half the stuff is just gonna be closed for a while.
Yeah, and it's a restaurant, so it's kind of that setting, they're open, they've been open. It's a restaurant and a bar, so
So how would you say with everything that's been going on like the last year and a half that like the open mic live performance setting has changed? I mean, obviously there's like the 6 feet distance and the masks, but so do people wear masks when they come in and then they take them off when they go to their table, when they order food or drinks, and then they have them off when they perform? And then, I mean, I don't know how it works.
yeah, it's pretty much the standard, just like you go to restaurants and stuff like that. It's basically the same way. You
Okay.
wear your mask and you take it off when you eat, when you drink. It's like the tables are more distanced than usual and, outside area patios and stuff like that. So,
The worst, because any place that sells drinks or food, and it's just this thing in all of us from the last year and a half, and it could just be a guy had too much salt on something or something just catches in their throat and they're like and they're like I'm good but everybody does that thing where they're like they just back away. Oh, I mean I feel like that's not going to go away for a couple of years. I want the COVID thing to be over, but there's just that thing of like, what do we do? And then people are just suddenly just going like this.
I'm weird. I'm like I don't make the faces. I just like look around and laugh at everybody that makes the faces for some reason and like
Because it's like you
notice.
gotta feel bad for the whoever it is that's just got something in their throat and they're just like, I'm fine, it's just wrong pipe or whatever. And they're going like that, or they're trying to drink their
Yeah.
water. Because it's just a natural human thing. Like it's just gonna happen. Like I said, there's too much salt, whatever. But we're so paranoid right now, we're just like, oh shit, he's gonna explode. Like, get away from him.
Yeah. I think that's bad. It's like I don't I think I try to like get in my head not to do that and be more, aware and just like these are people, like that happens. Like I don't want to be
I
so
know, but
anxious about everybody and everything. But I know it's a real issue, but
and the
yeah, I
danger is
try not
it
to.
only takes one or two people to get up and leave
Mm.
and then everybody else it gets awkward and uncomfortable and then somebody else is like, should we go? And it's
Yeah.
like, come on man, don't go. um So best case scenario, I mean, things are opening up, but then we've got the new variant that sounds like a transformer name. Um, so what do you want to get done or do, or in the next 6 months to a year, kind of what's your game plan?
Um, Kind of just what I've been doing. I've been playing consistently with my band. I've been performing with other bands. Just poetry wise, I want to put out my book, of course.
Are you putting that out on a press?
I was just gonna self-publish and do
Hey,
it that
Amazon
way.
gives you that great royalty, so.
Yeah, I like to do it myself. I do my first one myself too, but yeah, just work on music, put out the book, and finish the album.
I mean, are you looking to like travel with the band, or what's the deal with that right now?
Traveling is still kind of iffy, because other places have different rules and it's just so up in the air right now. I think we would wait on the traveling.
What states or cities in the past do you guys feel like you really went over well for the band?
Well, I've never traveled with my band. I've traveled with other bands
Oh,
and
okay.
performed, but I really liked San Francisco and like Oakland and Minneapolis. I went with one band and it was really, really cool. And it was like the first time I saw snow. I've never been in snow. So I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh,
It's
it's
from the
snowing.
sky.
Yeah,
Frozen
it was
water.
super cold. I
Oh
was
yeah.
not prepared like clothing wise,
You're like,
but
is
yeah.
this the trade-off?
But it was worth it. It was fun. It was like one of the best shows like that I've experienced. I feel like the most people as well. So
I know for me, I haven't performed any of my work. I've always wanted to go to Austin, Texas.
okay.
I've always wanted to go to Portland.
Mm,
I've always wanted to do St. Louis. Um, you said you did Minneapolis?
yeah.
I've
Mm,
always wanted to do there. Um, I've done stuff in New York and
mm,
Chicago and Cleveland. Um, kind of like the whole like Great Lakes stuff. I've kind of done that, but
mm.
it's just like it's a big country.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places that I have friends that do stand up, and I don't really do that kind of stuff anymore. But they're like, it's like the little clubs that are what's happening. Like not even like House of Blues, but like people just they want to relax. They want to have a good time. They want to have a show.
Mm.
So I mean, you were telling me that you've like done some stuff at some festivals.
Hmm. Yeah.
Wow, how did that come down? Just like somebody you opened for somebody, and they were like, you got to get this girl on stage.
Um, I don't, I guess just performing so much around town and different venues and bars and restaurants. People kind of just know, they learn about you and your music and word of mouth. They're just like, hey, I'm throwing a festival. We want to book you and
That's
just go
awesome.
from there.
So when you're doing a festival, like what's that set look like? Is that like 20 minutes, 25?
It varies. We've done some festivals where we only did about like 15 minutes, and then we've done other festivals where we play like an hour. So it depends.
Wow, so you have that much material. Do you guys do a lot of covers, or is it all originals?
We do covers and originals. We played a show last night for 3 hours.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
No one
so
had to be like, I need a pee break. Stop
we
singing.
always take a break. We take a break in between. I take at least like a 10-minute break after each hour,
I was
So
gonna
we'll
say at a certain point you're
yeah.
gonna be like, I'm so hungry.
Yeah, we take a little break in between, but yeah, we play a lot.
You're not a cruel taskmaster. You're not like, no, we need to like this is gonna be our big break.
Yeah, I'm like being the band leader. I'm always like, we have this group text. So when we go on break, I'll be like, okay, guys, it's time to go back, just manage everything. So it's fun. It's
So
cool.
so what would you say the differences are between for like how you compose or construct a set for a club or like a bar versus like a festival because it's a totally different atmosphere.
Definitely. For festivals, I kind of like to go off like the theme of the festival because usually we're like, oh, the jazz festival or the blues festival or like one time we did like a women's festival. So I'll kind of pick and choose songs that kind of match that vibe. And then I'll look at the other bands and like sometimes it even goes down to what time we're playing, you know. I kind of take all those things into factor. And when we play bars, especially like 3 hours, we get to mix it up more and have like fun. I'm like, okay, let's play some blues this set. Let's do a more funkier set. Oh, people are dancing. Let's do more up tempo songs. So I kind of just like
Yeah, you
I
got to read the
plan it.
room.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I plan it, but I also go with the flow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you because I didn't know if this was going to be like springing it on you or not, but if you wanted to, read anything, I don't know if you have any of your books like close by.
I'm always prepared and I wasn't sure either, but I have my book right here.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Yeah. So you want to read something?
I was like, what if he asked me?
I just was like, well, I mean, if you did, fine. If you didn't, fine. But since you have it there.
This is the wrong. Okay. Okay. Sometimes you get stuff printed and they printed this and it's not my book inside.
Oh my God,
I would
blank.
grab this one. I'm like, wait, this is not my book.
You open it up, it's just all blank, and you're like, I
I
leave
opened it
your.
up and it's like, and you know what? I don't know why I didn't tell them, but I have something on my phone.
Okay.
Something newer.
All right.
All right. So this is gonna be one that's gonna be in the new book.
Okay, cool. World premiere.
I know, right? Okay. I cried over a Pisces when the moon was blood red in Leo. Lit black candles with intention. I made love by myself with ink on my fingers dripping on ivory paper. Scribbled letters, hummed melodies, regenerating that last kiss. Been told I've got voodoo in my eyes and magic in my lips. Aura forces some to submit. Others flee unable to match this. Intensity, intimacy, and to me see the light and dark duality. How I make people see deep into their own skeletons, answer to their own insecurities. Love so deep, I am not a passion made for the weak. I cried over a Pisces when the moon was blood red in Leo. Tears stained the refrain. He didn't know that I was letting him go, but I'm sure that he felt it wherever he was. This is how spells are cast.
I'm almost afraid to ask what inspired that. That was so good.
Thank you.
Wow. You want to read another one?
No, let's just keep it there because I don't have my real
Oh,
book
no,
in
no
front of
problem. I
me.
just thought, with your empty book that leaves room for your imagination. That's great. So can we see the cover? Is that going to be
Oh
the
yeah,
actual cover?
the cover. Well, this is for the old one.
Oh,
The
okay.
one I already put out.
Ooh. Where was that taken? Long Beach?
Yeah, I was in Long Beach.
Nice. It's like you're walking right out of the water.
I know, it was really cool. I was like thinking about the cover. I was like, should I put a picture of me on the cover or should I put like something artsy and
But you
everything
know
like
what's
that?
great about that is not only is it a really cool cover with a cool outfit that jumps out, but it immediately, like, if you're also doing this twin thing with your music, it puts it in somebody's mind. If you have a CD or however else you're gonna sell your music, at like the merch table, or if you guys have shirts, I don't know, but it
Mm.
just puts it in the mind of like, oh, this is the same person. Oh,
Yeah.
I see her face. I see her outfit. Oh, it's the CD cover or the t-shirt. Oh, it's the same girl. Oh, okay. Because if you just put like that, like, what do you call it? Public domain art that sometimes people put on there. Like, if I didn't know who the author was, and I know don't judge a book by its cover, but sometimes you're just like, oh, is that so and so? But when you have somebody's face on it, you're like, right away, you know who it is. So good
Yeah.
job.
And coming from a music um place, I'm like, we put our pictures on our album covers, so it's like I could do it for my book and yeah.
I mean, I did it for mine too, and I just did the thing where I just the JPEG is kind of small for the PDF, but then if you with the paperback, it's like half of my face.
Okay.
So then in the back is just the other half of my face with a little barcode. And so, one of
That's
my
cool.
friends was just like, "Are you selling your face?" I'm like, "Shut up, just buy the book, bastard." um, so are you looking to get out to any other shows or open mics this year? Because you're going to have this book to plug. So hopefully stuff will stay open. Are there any places that you're looking to get out just like locally, LA, Orange County that you haven't done or that you want to set up for the book? When are you going to put the book out?
I don't know. I need
Are
to
you
think
so you're
about
worried about like stuff closing down? So
No, it's just me. I do that. Like, I need to just pick a date and just go from there. That's basically where I'm at. But yeah, once I do put it out, definitely gonna have a book release and a reading and everything like that. And of course, I'm gonna go feature or perform at different venues and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that whole process again.
my only advice is try not to put it out like near a holiday because people will just be out doing stuff. So
Definitely.
away from Memorial Day or Fourth of July or Labor Day or anything like that. But
Yeah.
have you had your stuff in like local bookshops and stuff like that?
Um, I want to say yes,
Okay.
but I can't really remember the places.
I
I
mean,
don't really remember the places.
I was thinking it's whenever you put the book out, you could always go or email or call them to what's it
Mhm.
in LA, the last bookstore?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and just I don't know what their situation is or what gauntlet you have to go down to like fight off the other independent publishers, but that's a thing where if they just had like a new book section, people might just be drawn to it, you know. So I don't know if
Definitely.
there's tons of stuff in Long Beach. I think Gatsby's is still open, Gatsby's bookstore,
Okay. Yeah.
and
Are
they,
they? They are? Okay.
and they do like an open mic there, or they did a long time ago. I don't know if they're still doing that, but
Yeah, I used
um,
to go to that. I really like that space. Yeah.
it's really cool. Believe it or not, we've been talking for almost an hour. I can't believe it. So what I wanted to do with this last few minutes is just kind of give you like a little platform and talk about where people can find your work, like online, like your website, all your social media stuff.
Okay. Well, I have a website. You can check me out at shybutfly.com. That's shybutflyy.com. You could find me. I post my shows on there as well when I'm performing music wise. And I post about Roxanne's open mic. I used to host multiple open mics, but right now Roxanne's is the only one that I'm hosting every Monday. And I'm more of an Instagram person than I am a Facebook person. So you can follow me on Instagram at shybutfly, shybutflyy. And I post when I'm performing with my band and of course like the open mics that I do as well.
Okay, so this is second week of January. Do you guys have any gigs that you want to promote for the band that are coming up like after the 14th?
I'm performing this Sunday in Gardena at a place called the Desert Room.
Which would be the 16th, right?
14, 15. Yes, the 16th. I go on at 7 o'clock p.m. and I think it goes to about like 10 o'clock. And then the following Monday I'll be at Roxanne's hosting the open mic, so come out.
Nice, nice. So I guess that's it. I guess I would love to come to that open, but Monday and Tuesday nights are kind of like my daughter's like heavy homework nights, and then she
Okay.
gives me those days. But yeah, if you've ever got anything going on like later in the week, I can kind of get away and do stuff. I
Okay.
don't think in my area, I think there's maybe um what's it called over in Orange? Oh God, I can't believe I can't remember the name
The
of it.
ugly mug.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Fuck, I just moved here. I should know that. And then there's one that's really good. I don't know if it's open in Riverside called Back to the Grind. They have a really cool space.
Okay.
So I'm gonna probably try to check that out in a couple of weeks. But It was so nice talking to you and catching up. I feel like I haven't talked to you in forever.
Yeah, thank
So
you for
great.
having me.
No problem. And like I'm so glad you read something, brand new. So it's just like hot out the box. All right. Well, thank you, Shy, for being on the show. And man, just have a great weekend and best of luck to you with the new book. I hope the band gets lots of gigs and I hope we'll see you around town.
Thank you.
No problem. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye.